Well, welcome everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Maribeth Pelly, and we are live for the press kit class. We're so excited. I'm so excited to bring this to the conference this year. I think this may be a first, but I have been teaching this class for several years. I think I'm going in my seventh year, lucky seven, for always presenting this class for NABA. But we're so excited because this year it's part of the Professional Booksellers Certification program. So you're going to get a glimpse about what the certification program is going to be included. So, you know, ask any questions at the end and we'll talk about that as well. But the even more exciting thing is that it's just not going to be me talking at the New Voices, New Rooms conference about press kits. I also have a team of wonderful instructors. So we're going to go around the room and have them introduce themselves. Why don't we start with Jessica?
Hi, thanks, Maribeth. I'm Jessica Stockton Bagnulo. I'm the co-owner and events and marketing director at Greenlight Bookstore in Brooklyn, New York. Nice to see you all.
Hi, all. I'm Elliott but Tzedek. I'm the outreach manager. I can't even talk anymore today. I'm the outreach manager of Big Blue Marble Bookstores in Philadelphia.
Hi, I'm Molly Olivo. I am the book buyer, event coordinator, and occasionally bathroom cleaner for Child's Play in DC.
And I am BrocheAroe Fabian. I'm the owner of River Dog Book Co. and the founder of River Dog Reads, a new literary nonprofit. I'm based in Wisconsin now, but I don't have a traditional brick and mortar location. So I say I'm Wisconsin-based, book selling worldwide.
So isn't that awesome? We got some great perspectives to bring to you today. And what we're going to try to cover in this time allowed is that we're going to talk about why your store should have a press kit. And we're going to go through the reasons why, and then we're going to show you how to build your press kit. And we're going to show you examples of our own press kits, the instructors' press kits, and we're going to show excerpts. So when you're looking at the different formats and styles, look at what works for you. You don't have to copy it, but just model it. Model it what's best for your store. So let's begin. Oh, and before I forget, I just want to make sure everyone understands we did have press kits submitted for review. So after we talk about those two sections, why and how, we're going to talk about some feedback on the press kits that were submitted. So we're really excited for those people who submitted their press kits. They're going to get live in-person reviews from everyone on the committee. And then if there's any questions, if the time allows, we'll be answering your questions. So why should your store take the time to make a press kit? I have learned over the years that it's worth the time, it's worth the effort, it's worth even finding someone who maybe could do some graphic design for you. But if you are just starting out and you are looking at these press kits and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't have these design skills, don't worry about it. You just can put it on a regular Word doc. But the press kit can be leveraged in so many different ways, and we're going to go through these. First off, the press kit can be used as a promotional tool. So for this conversation, we're going to be talking about how to use this document when you go to the publisher or you're contacting a publicity contact. But it also can be used for authors when you're reaching out to bloggers and you want to show them how much your store can support an event or a joint venture or a collaboration with them. Keep in mind there's podcasters, there's different media partners that you have in your community reach that you can use this document to share and say, listen, this is what we've been about, this is what we've been doing, and I'd like to talk to you about some future events. These are some ways when we are talking about promotion that, oh, now these are excerpts that are coming from the instructors' press kits, okay? And when it comes right down to it, if you're talking to the publicity contact, they're talking to so many different bookstores. So in the end, we have to figure out how to stand out amongst our colleagues, right? And the publicity person or the contact at the publisher, they may not necessarily know your area. So you have to do your best, most succinct way of promoting your event. For BookTowne, we are located in a shore area, the Jersey Shore. And a lot of people assume that we shut down in the summer and in the winter, in the spring, and we're only open for the summer. That is not the case. We are year round. So I'd like to put that up in our press kit so we can establish that right in the beginning. Greenlight and Child's Play do their own wording and articulation and use of words to explain what they do well with their store. in strong language and succinct language, okay? It's also a great training tool for your staff and for your volunteers. It encompasses everything that your store is about. Your staff and your volunteers may only be looking at a small composite of your store, but this document helps them to understand the language, the culture that you're trying to develop, the business strategies that you're trying to, that you have underneath your umbrella of your store name. So I think it's a great way to get them to become invested in your store. And also keep in mind, when you have your staff and your volunteers looking at your document, you're also possibly opening it up. You're opening up your store to their network. So when they see all that the store can do, they may have someone in their network that can collaborate with you. So again, use this document in different ways to expand the reach of your store. These are some areas I'd love Jessica and Molly to chime in on these. These are excerpts from their press kits. On the left is Greenlight, and they do a great way of talking about what they do well for their store, and it's formatted differently than Child's Play. And can you, Jessica, just hop in and talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, for sure. Our press kit is definitely on the longer side, and we redo it about once a year, usually in advance of going to visit some publishers. But we use it for a lot of different things. We use it when we're approaching new venue partners or anyone else who might want to know sort of what we do. And we refine the event highlights and focus areas maybe once a year or so to talk about what are the kinds of events that work well for us specifically. So this is obviously going to be different for every store. I mean, for us, we're in a historically Black neighborhood, so we intentionally really highlight Black authors. We do a lot with debuts. We do a lot with genre fiction. We found a lot of our successes recently have been with sort of topical issues related nonfiction. We do really well with poetry. All of those are what's true for our market and our store and our passions and what our staff is reading and what our community loves. So we want publishers to know, don't just pitch us on every book that you think is going to sell. Here are the things that we're looking for. Here's what we're prioritizing when we're creating our programming. So that's really useful to help to sort of not only pitch what we're good at, but to start to refine the kinds of things that we are hoping that publishers will work with us on.
And I just want to point out what Jessica said. It's revised every year, and that's key. So we'll talk about more on that later. But Molly?
Yeah, so in our business model is really different than a lot of bookstores. So we always try to highlight sort of how that can be an advantage, because we are also a toy store and we have 3 locations. So we spend a lot of time talking about how much foot traffic we have and how, because we're kids only, we get to focus only on the books we care about for kids. And I find that helps sort of, it narrows down like how many publicists we're having to deal with, because I'm not having to deal with like PRH's adult publicists or anything like that. But having, and also having teasers for like the good works we do. Like we mentioned that we are solar powered and we work with local literacy groups, so that when there are authors or honestly like our staff or volunteers that want to be contributing to that, that's something they can talk up and know about.
Yep, that's right. And so when you look through Child's Play's press kit, you can see the fun about it, the language that they choose, the pictures and the graphics that they use. And also you'll see that they're totally focused on their targeted market. And so that's specific. So to me, if I was in the publisher's point of view, I'd be like, oh, totally convinced and with no doubt that they knew what to do for their market. So again, we'll take the time later. You can see the whole press kit. They'll be available for review. It's also a great marketing tool, of course, when you're reaching out to schools that you haven't had a conversation with, and libraries, library partners. BookTowne partners with libraries and schools a lot. A lot of other stores as well do. But if you're someone that you wanted to start the conversation, initiate all that you can do as far as a collaboration or event through the year, this tool is helpful. Also think out of the box. Think about who's in your community that you could collaborate and come together to sell books and do an event for the community, either with an author or without an author. Again, media, looking at your newspapers, looking at your radio, your regional and local, looking at the podcasters, the bloggers. We've had a lot of blogger friends become friendly with BookTowne, and they've been very helpful in helping us get attendance for our events and also spread the awareness if they weren't able to attend. And in the future, we look to do some partnerships with them. Also some non-traditional venues, of course. For BookTowne, we also mention, we have a pet store. So there's so many different ways that we can collaborate with neighbors in our store using this tool. I can explain to them what we'll bring to the table, and then that will also initiate for them to see, oh, what am I going to bring to the table? Talking about marketing together on these ventures is an important conversation. Also with marketing, the publicity contact have recently been very interested in our marketing channels that we have as a bookstore. And as you can see from these excerpts, there's different ways that you can format and lay out the information about your marketing channel. So what's a marketing channel? It's how you get the word out through social media, through an email newsletter. Maybe one of your staff members has a podcast, or there's access to a radio show. Put all these things into your section of marketing and social media of the press kit, so you can relay to the you can portray how active you are in advertising your events. The press kit is also good proof on what type of events work well for your store. Now, you don't want to get into a comparison fit with yourself over other stores' proof numbers versus yours. If you're just starting out in developing your author program, it develops in stages. You have events that work good for you at the level that you're at. There's certain operations that are involved with doing an event. There's certain staff that's required, certain talents. So you want to be understanding of where you are and very realistic in where you are in your author program, okay? So this document gives you a chance to show those events that have happened in the last year, say, that have done really well for your store. And again, these are different ways that have been used to portray the proof of success for our stores, different stores. Big Blue Marble, you want to talk about your grid and your layout and how you feel about, giving that information?
Yeah, this is this is from a couple of years old one that I had access to, and I absolutely learned this from working with Maribeth to just simply make that grid. I figured because I have this on only 2 pages, so I only had space for about 5 things, so I would choose the 5 that showed a diversity of kinds of events, a diversity of locations, so people could see that we did that. Balance both attendance and sales so they can see that we're selling to the people who show up. And also highlighting ones that speak to what our sales area are in the store. So not just some author whose event we sold at and we made a lot of money, but that was somebody booked us to do it. That wasn't really us. So really giving the personality of the store along with hard sales numbers.
So I love that. So they may have other events that they had through the year, but they wanted to pick the ones that best portrayed their mission, their culture, their store. Broche, can you talk about yours, please?
Absolutely. So mine is a little bit different because I am a non-traditional store. When I worked for a more traditional store, I absolutely had the grid that was like this, and I would change it actually to be specific to whatever publisher I was talking to. So if I was at at a conference and I knew that I was sitting down with a Macmillan rep, a HarperCollins rep, a Simon & Schuster rep, I had a different second page that was for every rep that spoke to their specific publisher. With a small store, a non-traditional space that's moved 4 different states in the 3 years I've been open, I don't have that anymore. But what I do have are big successes. So just because we are a location independent store doesn't mean we can't do pre-order campaigns. So I've highlighted a pre-order campaign we did with source books with the author. We sold 100 copies in our pre-order campaign. It was a great success, and mailed it all out with all kinds of swag. Everyone loved it. I've highlighted our virtual events. I run virtual book clubs. We had 40 participants from over 6 countries attending this particular virtual event, which was a great coup for us. And then I also can do in-person events. So We had a local author. We partnered with a local American Association of University Women's chapter in the area. We had 50 attendees. We sold 40 hardcovers of this book. We had a local lawyer who actually worked on this topic come and be in conversation along with myself and the author. So I'm pointing out the fact that we can do a range of events as long as we have the right planning, the right tie-in, they can be successful. So my events in terms of breadth don't look like this, but when I do them, we can do them successfully.
Yes, excellent. So again, don't be overwhelmed if you're just starting out with your press kit that you have to have all these different versions for the different publishers. Broche has developed this, and she's comfortable presenting it that way because she has several versions available to her. If you're just starting out, you know, use the basic format. But I think this is a great graphical way to have a conversation with the publisher. I love it. It's very memorable. It stands out. On the left here is BookTowne's. We've been sticking with the grid, very traditional. But we've added different columns to it as we develop over time. And we're going to talk about these columns in a little bit about what to include. Another new development or version of the press kit has been, for years I was always looking in the past and saying, okay, this is what we've done and these are our results. But then as I've gotten more complex author programs to put together, I've wanted to be able to relay in my conversation with the publisher what I was looking for in the next year, what I was bringing to the table, like what kind of work I did to make sure that that type of event would be supported. So I'd like to leave room in the press kit for what you want, what you're hoping to do in the future. And I think that's good advice for someone who's just starting out. Even if you can't see past 3 months right now or 3 days, just try to articulate what you think your goals are for your author program, where you're at now, okay? Where you're at now. So these are different ways that—
interrupt really quick and say we're running a little long on this slide, so we may want to speed this one up. So we
I'm going to speed it up. Thank you, Molly. Thank you, Molly. So this is one way that I present it. I'm going to just point this out on the bottom. It's very important for BookTowne to have partners, venue partners, because we are such a tiny space. So every year I look to make sure that I have a variety of venues available to present to the publishers with different capacities. And I like to present it in this way. Okay. So this is the part where we're going to talk about what to put into your press kit, okay? And these are all the suggested areas. If you can't fill and check off the box for each of these areas, don't worry about it. Just get something on paper that's going to be able to be concise and clear to have a conversation with. So the most important thing to remember is who is going to be reading this press kit. A lot of press kits that I see from stores who are new at developing their author program, they develop a brochure that's like for the general public. The publicity contact is someone who is working with stores all over the country. And you want to be able to format and lay out your press kits so the information is literally handed to them. They can scan the document. They're not reading every word. So don't write your memoir on this. This is not the time and place. Your website can have a lot more information than the press kit has, so you don't need to transfer the website to the press kit. I want you to just get that idea in your head and that style of writing, and that's how we're going to be reviewing these documents. So basic information that's usually overlooked is where you are and who is the person that we would contact for events. It's really kind of comical. They tell us, you know, that the name of the store and they're in this city and they put this nice map where they are, but I don't know who to call. And if I'm a busy publicity contact, I need to know who that person is right away. And one point I want to say, if you're going to be sending this document over email, make your links clickable so they can look at the document, click on the email, look on the document and click on your website. I want to open this up to the other instructors here to highlight your unique selling points for your stores as well. But you want to make, again, I talked about this in the beginning, make yourself unique amongst your colleagues. So again, anyone, I just happened to see Jessica's face here. So jump in here and tell us what makes your store unique. You kind of touched on it already, but.
Yeah, I mean, and that's something we've talked about a lot in this group, which I really appreciate, is that it's not like well, I need to do events like this store in order to do successful events. Like there's such a broad range and a spectrum of like what might be right for your store and your market and your community. So for us, we have 2 store locations in really dense urban areas. So and we're in New York, so there's like a lot of authors who are local. So we focus a lot on what's hyper local to us, like authors who are in our neighborhoods, and we can bring out those audiences even if an author is like, you know, a mid-list or like a debut author, like their fans and friends are around, and we can do that. We can also do big ticketed events because we have access to partnerships with big venues. So that's, you know, something that's specific to us, not right now, obviously, because none of those venues are open. But we still have some of those institutional partnerships, which gives us the opportunity to do things on a larger scale. But it's taken us a long time to develop that. And when we started out, it was all about the neighborhood authors and the authors that we already had relationships with. But we can offer, you know, we're next to this subway stop, and, you know, we have these local businesses that we can partner with for advertising. So it's the same as any store in any market. It's just specific to our neighborhood. So we talk a lot about our neighborhood.
Molly, I'd love you to interject. Can you hop in there?
So at our store, we focus on 3 unique selling points. The fact that we have solar panels that are only on one store but produce enough power to power all of them, so we get to play the environmental angle, which authors who write books for kids about environmental issues love to hear about. So we leverage that a lot because it's something that I feel like is generally pretty unique to our store. We talk a lot about having the fact that we have 3 locations and that we are a kids-only focused store. I will say we do not pitch for or talk to publicists about authors that we specifically don't want. Like we will say no if we don't think that we can do the sales. And so we spend a lot of time saying, like, we know our customers, we know what we want, this is what we're going to do. And then we also talk about our school relationships all the time. Like it's in 6 different spots on our press kit. Like we have a school for your author. I don't care what your author is. We will find them a school, and we've already worked with them, and they will be well prepared. So we put it all over the place.
Excellent. So again, it's hyper focused. They know their market. Elliott, can you talk about your?
We're a small store in a big city that has a lot of bookstores. So we also really talk about our tiny little neighborhood is a destination that people come to spend time shopping. So we talk up the other businesses. We talk about the fact that we're a lesbian-owned store that sets us apart. It's not just that we have a sci-fi section. We have a feminist sci-fi section. So again, we just really play up what sets us apart from the 6 other great, wonderful indie bookstores that Philly has.
Great. Bracha, do you have anything to add to what you said before?
Just a little bit. I think that now everyone has wonderfully jumped on board with, being focused on diverse and inclusive books. Riverdog started that way. We focus on diverse, inclusive, global, and representative literature. And I always say to publishers that the book, if it has a connection to me, my life, and my background, similar to what Elliott said, then it's something that I am going to push. That's what readers come to me for. And so I think it's huge to highlight your store staff. What are they reading? What do they want to be reading? I always say, on one hand, if one more Jewish lesbian book crosses my desk, that's not always what I want to read. But on the other hand, you know that if one does cross my desk, I'll probably be an evangelist for it. And I think that's key to speak to what your store staff strengths really are.
Right. So that's great. So thank you. And if you have any questions about that, just put in the chat and we'll get to your questions at the end of this. So again, we kind of already talked about this, but we want to talk, along with, what your unique selling point is. Talk about highlight the areas that, again, you do well in. Your store is going to have a successful event as you define success. Molly talked about that. She does say no to some authors because she knows her audience so well. So you do have to understand that comes with, like the chops with, talking with the publisher. In the beginning, you feel like you have to say yes all the time, but the minute you have an inkling that isn't going to work for your store and maybe something else would do better, speak up and then document that in your press kit for future conversations. You'll be that much happier.
Yeah.
Okay. The document also is a great way to highlight your events. We've talked about that in the way that you can show them in a grid or in some type of graphical representation. again, the areas that we're trying to show about the events, because in the end, the publisher is really concerned about numbers. And that is the realistic truth. So again, when it comes to sales and attendance, that information is helpful for them to gauge if a certain author would be a good fit for your store and whatnot.
That said, for stores that are new or smaller, highlighting what events you'd like to have here, what you're looking for, what you know will be a success, can also really work.
Absolutely.
And they
Also,
don't have to be author events. I would also say some of our most successful events have been completely independent of publishers. But I know at one conference, a publicist stood up and was like, well, if a store's never done any event, then how are they going to know how to host an author? So
Molly, why don't you say more about that with this slide here?
Yes. Oh, sorry.
Go right in.
They do it. So focusing on non-author events lets publicists know, and anyone you're talking to, that you know how to host an event, that you know that you need chairs and space and your staff is prepared to talk to your customers about it and promote things and do all of that stuff successfully. So and starting small is okay. Like a lot of stores are small and don't have the staff to do massive events in the beginning. So you can build these programs. Like being realistic with the publicist about what you can do means that you can build on that.
Right. So your story times, your book clubs, all those can go into your grid to show your successes. Okay. So don't leave those out.
Also, community partnerships, that very first one, that's where I've gotten some of my biggest event successes. It wasn't that Riverdog had the reach. It's that the organization I partnered with had the reach, whether it was a school or a nonprofit or a senior center, captive audience. It's been great. And so that's made me look good, but it was really on the backs of my community partnerships.
Right. When you're looking at your partnership, you are looking for someone who is going to be able to extend your reach. That's kind of the point, even though there's some other reasons why you would do it as well.
And I'll just add, for our second bookstore location, for a while it was hard for us to get events there, even though we had a well-established events program in our first location, because it was just a little further away from everybody. They're in their mind, they're like, well, I don't know if audiences will come out there. So we were approached by someone who wanted to do a comedy night, and that's like, there's no book sales involved with a comedy night, obviously, but we said yes, and it became a series. And when people turn out for that event, we can show that we have 40 or 50 people every time we host something like that. Then it becomes a little easier for publishers to wrap their heads around that the audiences are there, that people are in that community and that they want programming.
Right. And so the important comment that I want to say to all that was just suggested, Molly touched on it. You want to have the operations, the infrastructure to support your events. So yeah, chairs, sales staff that would be willing to talk about the books that you're highlighting, someone at the cash register who can expedite the sales for you. You know, just having that system down and, you know, everyone kind of automatic about it gives the publisher confidence that you know how to structure an event for them. So the question I get a lot is, well, I'm not really comfortable about putting my sales on the press kit. So that is fine. And I'm going to just tell you a little side story about how I came to my format and where I do share sales. But when I was beginning to develop the author program for BookTowne, we were starting from scratch, and you know, there was very small events. And at one point, someone had suggested from the industry, why don't you not show your sales? You know, kind of keep them off and you know, skip over that conversation. And so I did. I presented my press kit to the publishers when we had a conversation, and I was missing the sales section. And time again, they kept asking me, well, how did that do? How did this event do? And I mean, I was prepared to talk sales, but I was like thinking to myself, this document is really important for me to establish my ability to do author events well for the publisher and for our store. And I want to eliminate any doubt. So I put these sales back in because it was more productive for me. When they took that document back to their desk and they were looking through all the press kits that they had to go through, I wanted them to look at BookTowne in a complete sense. I wanted to have all the information that they needed in one document. So that was my position. Some stores may not want to share sales. Any of the co-instructors have any comments on that?
I do something similar to what Brecca suggested. Is I sort of sort my sales out by publisher. So you know, and it's actually a good opportunity because we look at them once a year. We look at all of our events for the past year, and we've been collecting the data on sales over the course of the year. So it's a good opportunity for us to look at it and be like, okay, which are the ones that are working well and which aren't? And then we sort by, the PRH events, the Hachette events, whatever they are. And when we meet with publishers, we take them those numbers and we can talk to them about which books of theirs are working well and which ones are sort of like, well, we tried that, it was an experiment, but that's clearly not where our audiences are right now. So it's sort of like a learning opportunity for both of us. And then it's also like very tailored to them, but we don't share all of our sales with all of the publishers, but that's just our personal choice.
Yeah, and that's great. And so your store may choose that model or not. So you pick what works for you. We just want to give you different ideas. Again, another part of the conversation that has come up and developed with the publisher is they are asking what kind of marketing and social media you do on your social media to promote the event. And they actually go to your platforms, your different accounts, and they look up your store and they try to see, how you're promoting a certain event in the past. And so I thought that was interesting. That was the first time that ever came up in our conversation, probably about 2 years ago. So I've now been adding that information not only into my press kit, but also into my discussion when I'm talking to the publisher about our events. We actively use our social media, and they can see proof of that, both in our document and on our social media. So again, I just want to make sure that everyone is aware of that, staying current. And again, as you've heard in this discussion, this document evolves over time. It is not set in stone. It's not this document that you did in 2015 and then that's it. It really has to be actively worked every year so you can see the growth, so you can see the direction you're taking your author program, and also you're keeping up with the trends. So some of the trends that have been coming up for me have been the in conversation. Now the trend is what? Virtual. So we're all like trying to figure out that new trend. Some other areas that you can find out about trends are by looking at what the publishers are doing. They do their own events, so you can see what they're doing. You can look to Edelweiss and see what kind of content, if there's any content, to look and read that and see, okay, what are they actually looking for in this type of event? Follow other stores that you admire, respect in the area or outside the area. I try to get a good reach of other stores' newsletters to see what they're doing and glean ideas. And ask your sales reps. If you have a sales rep.
And knowing when the trends are going out is also really helpful. Because if you're pitching a bunch of events, your press kit's talking about in conversation and all of the publicists are going, God, if I have to do one more in conversation event, I'm going to lose my mind. Like, it's good to know that, which I find sales reps usually know pretty well when they're getting tired of things. So I feel like always asking them what is no longer working is also important.
Excellent question. Yeah, excellent. So yeah.
I also want to jump in and say, as a non-traditional store, in this iteration of my store, I have really almost not taken any kind of look at trends because they don't matter to what I'm doing. And so if you're sitting here thinking, God, how am I going to figure out trends? What does that even mean? Don't worry, you've probably got a niche for your store already. You probably already have a focus. So as important as this is, incredibly important, if you're thinking, I don't even know where to start with that, I wouldn't worry about it that much if you aren't already doing it. So.
And also you could be a trendsetter.
That's what I'm known for, Maribeth, is trends and pitting. For everyone who doesn't know me, I use sarcasm a lot.
Alrighty. So again, going back to the idea of knowing your audience and who's going to be reading this, they're usually very busy, overstretched people from publicity working with stores all over the country. You want to make sure that your press kit is concise, formatted in a way that is easy to scan. Don't let them hunt for any information. Yeah, bold, bullets, graphs, charts. We'll show you different ideas. So we get to the part of the class where we go over the feedback. So I'm going to pull up our first press kit, and let me just make sure I can cue this well. Let's see. It's Hakkasan Bookshelf, and it's 2 pages. Let me make sure I have both pages up here. Okay.
I just wanted to point out what Lisa from Hawkinson Bookshop just let us know. She realized that she has an updated press kit that isn't the one she sent us. So we'll be reviewing it for everyone else's sake. But Lisa, I'm sure you have a beautiful press kit.
Okay. All right.
Oh, she has it in her hand. Does she, Lisa, are you able to maybe
Like
we
screen
could,
share?
yeah,
Or send it
put
to
it up
me?
right now and do it. Yeah, either shoot one of us an email right now and we can go to the second press kit and then maybe we can pull yours up on screen and do like a real live time look at your new press kit.
Really, really live time.
Oh, it's a
Super
hard
live.
copy. Let her try. Okay. She's going to try. Do we want to go to the second press kit
Yeah, we could do that.
and give her a minute?
Yeah, let me do this. I'll reduce this. I have to move slowly because I don't want to. Let's see here. Okay. So we have a likely story bookstore. And they had submitted this, and it's in a trifold brochure. So I'm going to open this up to the instructors to ask them to give their review. So just so you know, it is 2 pages. Okay, 1, 2, and that's a good length. And I'm just going to let it. Who would like to jump in, Brocha?
Are you guys seeing this on your screen? Yeah, I don't see it right now.
We don't see it yet.
Oh, you don't?
Nope.
No.
You might have to screen share a different
resume
window.
share. Ah, hee, hoo, hoo, hoo. Hold on. Huh. All right, resume share.
You might have to stop sharing and then like select the window that you want to share.
Okay. All right. Sorry. Let's see.
Now you can see everyone's faces.
Yeah. Hi,
Yeah.
everyone.
Someone get a picture.
Everyone smile really quickly for anyone who's taking that picture.
Hold on.
All right.
Do you want to try and answer a question in the chat in the meantime while we're working on the screen share?
Yeah, that's a very good idea.
Lady Smith-Snail was asking about how and when you submit these to publishers. And I'm sure there's different answers. We're lucky to be in New York City, so we actually set up visits with publishers about once a year. I know some other stores will actually travel to New York to talk to publishers. I know, it's crazy. It's like a privilege that we try and be like really humble about because it's just because of our geography.
It's amazing.
I think for a lot of stores, it's at Book Expo or it's at Winter Institute. That's where you have the chance to have your conversations with publishers and you can make those appointments. If you're not at those conferences, then you can, through your sales rep, connect with the publicity department. I think it's a really good idea to do it once a year because because of the turnover in publicity departments, there are going to be people who don't remember you or know you, and because it's an opportunity for you to sort of relook at what you're doing and make sure that everything is up to date. So in whatever context, I think around once a year is good, and wherever that contact happens.
And one thing I do, and this is just because I'm obsessive about communication, is that if I've ever corresponded with you from a publisher, I put you on my publisher specific email newsletter list. And I probably email you 4 times a year in a mass email updating you on where I've moved recently, but also the new types of things going on with Riverdog as a non-traditional store. So, I get a lot of bounce backs from people who have moved positions, and that lets me know how many people in the publishing industry are really moving around. And so I think it's really important if you have emailed with them, it's not that you're spamming them, they're able to unsubscribe from any email you send them. But I have a specific publisher list. So they're not getting my general newsletter, they're getting my publisher one that just says, hi, this is what we're doing.
I love that because it's not soliciting all the time that she hits up the publisher. So I love that she's sort of you're developing a relationship with them, and that's important. Right. So yeah, the bookseller does have to find ways to drive that conversation. Okay, so can everyone see my screen?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, good. So Get Psyched is the kind of like this theme throughout the brochure. Like I said, it's 2 pages. I'm just going to scroll through this is page 1, this is page 2, and they picked up some of the template suggestions. But I want to open it up to the committee for review. If someone wants to start off, please, and give when you had a chance to review this, what you picked up as far as suggestions for tweaking the document.
So I had a couple thoughts on the location. So I think a map would probably be helpful. because it's going to be easier for them to see like DC, Baltimore, et cetera, visually than it is to sort of read through the paragraph. I also, this may be just me, but I tend to hesitate to say we're the only bookstore in a certain amount of space, because publicists are looking for how can we connect the dots to make this like short trips for the author, but also like great sales. So I think I would say we're only an hour from DC and only 2.5 hours from Philly, and leave the sort of we're the only one in the area out.
Anyone else?
Elliott.
Elliott,
Oh,
yep.
Elliott. One thing I really like about this is that the photos show active things, and I had to learn to do that. I had very static photos at first, and you really want to show the crowds and the activities and people engaged, because that's just inherently more exciting than a picture of a bookshelf. So
Yep.
that's a strength here.
Yep. You want to see how the audience location is.
Right.
That'll be different going forward, but we'll have to adapt.
Right.
I'll show
also-
page 2. Go ahead.
Oh, on that same page, I was going to say, one of the things that you could highlight more, I think, is the fact that you were one of the top 5 finalists for PW's Bookstore of the Year. Sure, there's some type of logo somewhere, and the National Main Street USA Town, and voted coolest small town in America. Those are really cool things that I lost in that paragraph if I hadn't read it.
Right.
So I'm sure there's some kind of icon or logo that could highlight that very quickly without all the words. And the same with how you get the word out. You have a great newsletter list, an amazing Facebook presence, but a quick icon actually cuts down on the amount of text while still getting your point across. So maybe seeing where you could switch out, like Molly said, a map, some icons, some more visuals to represent the text.
Right.
And bullet
right.
points.
Yes. So a lot of times in the review, I make sure, ooh, move that whole document. Okay. I like to make sure that, paragraphs are broken up. This is a long paragraph, and you want to do lead for those, the PW's Bookstore of the Year 2019. That's something that it should be led with. That is exciting. That differentiates you. That's unique to your store. So yeah, start with that and format those paragraphs that are long blocks into more bulleted, bolded icons to help break it up and read it. So I'm going to move to page 2 if there's nothing else on this. Okay, so this is page 2.
I just wanted to say I was really impressed with the grid of past events. These are some
Yes.
fantastic numbers. I was thinking it might be useful to have a little more information in terms of locations or dates on these. Because I'm like, was this last year? Was this 10 years ago? Like how recent are these events, and where are they happening? Do you have venue partners? Are these happening in your store? Which is like kind of hard to imagine. So if talking a little bit about sort of the, just in a bullet point, grid kind of way, like the times and the locations of those events, I think is good context.
I would
Yes.
actually switch that in for the publisher. Publishers know who their own authors are. So they don't necessarily need that information. But if you put the time or the date into that column, I think that would be helpful.
Yeah, I think the time of the event is important. You could either date the whole document to say this is the events for this year, or you could date the document, the events in your grid. Let's see, I had some notes here.
I think mostly bullet points here. Sorry. Maribeth,
Go ahead.
That was
No.
all I was going to say, is that some of the text, again, like we said on the other page, could just be broken up by bullet points instead of boxes of text.
I wanted to mention something that may be obvious to a lot of our stores, but some still are not reporting to their numbers. And I wanted to make sure that you had that on your press kit. I have been up against stores in my local area, and they have lost the event because they were not reporting. And we got it because we were reporting, and they knew that immediately because I had it on my press kit. So it sounds simple, but please, please put that on there. That is very important. And not, and where you're reporting them to. Also, I like their mission down here. This again got lost in all this text. So maybe lead with this, or find a way to have it stand out.
So the only thing I was actually going to say about that, I love it. We have a store mission as well. But if it's not specifically relating to the events you're pitching, or there's a tie-in, If you need more space, I was going to say that's something you can cut. So that's interesting because I love it. I think it's great, but I think it depends on the purpose of the press kit. Like I get this is kind of more of a brochure telling about the store. But if you're really looking for events specifically, unless that monthly mission is tied into an event, I almost think that's something that doesn't need to be there and gives you more room to highlight something else. Like the book fairs and business to business, that's where I lost it. I was like, oh wait, highlight that.
Bring that up. Bring that
How
up.
many book fairs? How many corporations or businesses are you partnering with? You know, how has that business grown? We have a 30% year-over-year growth in our book fair sales. That's a big thing.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And so, so if you are up tying in your mission to an event, you could probably put an asterisk to that in the grid simply, and just say that some of these proceeds were put to our, the benefactors that were the charities that we're have an affiliation with.
Like actually I'll say as an example for JDRF, my wife's a type 1 diabetic. We ride with JDRF. We raise money for JDRF. We actually have a page on our website that has diabetes books and biking books, and a percentage of those book sales goes towards JDRF. So if you're a publisher and you have a biking book or a book about type 1 diabetes, let me know and I'll add it to that webpage. That's one of the things I tell publishers.
Excellent. Anyone else have any comments before we move on to? And also, let's just check the chat to see if there's any questions on the specific press kit.
I just wanted to say, it looks like from your offsite list that one of the things you can do is cooking events with the culinary school, which sounds fantastic. I didn't see any cookbooks in the past events, so I would love to sort of see some, cross mentions of like, if you do cookbook events, like what are some successful ones, or and I guess that sort of ties into what I was saying is I want to know more about like the context of these events. If we are doing things with these offsites, what kind of events, a little bit more about the specifics.
Yeah. And also maybe you want to break this out into a grid, because if you are working with venues with some decent size occupancy, maybe break that out, because if you have a tea house or whatever these venues are, they can be easily scanned to see if they have an author that could relate to that, or a book.
Yeah, we do an at a glance page for all of our partner venues, which could just be a bulleted list, and it's sort of like the capacity and the kind of events that tend to work there.
Maribeth, there was a question to revisit the first page very quickly, but I think that's the only question we haven't answered yet.
Okay.
And then Lauren, I believe, said that she did, was it Lauren? Or someone else, Lisa said that she sent you her press kit to your email address.
Oh, okay.
So there's the first page.
So this is the first page, and just to be clear, was there a question about this one? About this
I think
page?
they just wanted to see it. I don't know, maybe screenshot it. I'm not sure.
The nice trifold design.
Yes. And so when you send this electronically, consider the layout for electronic, because I was trying to figure out what was the first page in the trifold, but I think it works very nice for a printed format.
Oh yeah, it looks like that cute little caterpillar might have gotten like image distorted, so maybe cleaning up the graphics a little bit would be worthwhile if you're doing a revisit.
Yes. And also, this is the contact for events. This is the event planner. This is who it is. Just make that clear. All right, I'm going to stop share so I can find my email. And how are we doing on time, Molly?
We have 12 minutes left.
12 minutes. All right. So while I'm looking, are there any other questions? Maybe in the chat, how many people already have a press kit? Or how many people don't have a press kit?
Or use your reactions, clap or thumbs up. Let's use it to our advantage.
Go slower, go faster.
Yeah, who's thinking of making a press kit? This is where we can actually plug the fact that we have office hours in the morning this week. So you have 1 hour of our time, and so you can join us during the rooms. I forget what they're called, but we have office hours in the morning, 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern, I believe.
Okay, so this looks like a photo of the document. So it's not a digital version of it. So let me see if I can screen share this.
Well, Maribeth is pulling that up. We should also promote, and we'll keep promoting, that this is part of the events management track of the Professional Booksellers Certificate program that NABA is hosting. You can sign up for that starting in January and learn so much more about events management for your stores. And we'll be the team that's doing it, and we'll be thrilled to see you there.
Yay. Yay. Okay, so I just have this image. So let's work with this and give feedback on this. So it's a little bit different than the original one that we had. It's a trifold. I'm just scanning it right now for the first time. So we have pictures, we have the address, where they are. Again, add the name of the contact for the event planner.
I would say at first glance, there's a lot of information about the village itself. Some of which I don't necessarily know is needed if you're looking for more space to add more information. So the diverse small town community, distinctive cultural attractions, world-class recreational facilities, shopping and dining are unique. Without going into specifics that tie into the events you're trying to have, that just kind of becomes filler. And if you can tie it, like we have, this distinct cultural attraction A, which brings 20,000 visitors a year this 1 week, we would love to do books on quilting or whatever that connection is, to make those points for publicists. That you really have to lead, everyone to what you want. So we have a massive quilting show. It happens in August. I want quilting authors.
I think there's a blend between this document and the one that we received earlier. So I'm going to go back and pull that up. Oh, I hope this works. No.
While she's doing that, one of the things I was going to suggest is there's some nice numbers for the social media following, but I think it's a good idea to share your actual social media tags too, so publishers can go and look for themselves and be like, what is their following like? What are they talking about? Are they good at this? Like, do they have an interesting or distinctive voice? And we try and put our social media tag on like anything that has our email or our website on it also has we're at Greenlight BKLYN on all of our platforms so that people can see for themselves.
And if you don't promote as much on social media, make sure that's mentioned. Like if you promote elsewhere, like our social media numbers are not particularly impressive because we have like a stronger newsletter and stronger in-person and community partner promotions. So we tend to we always make sure that it says like we have multiple locations and we promote in person hugely.
Yeah, that is awesome to mention. Yeah, so how are you offsetting that?
And updating that to include, if you're doing a BookTube channel or if you've revitalized that 2005 blog or, whatever else it is that you're doing that's unique. Like I've gotten some author interviews recently for the hopefully soon to be revitalized Riverdog blog that I haven't written on in over a year. And I was very honest about that. But now I have 2 author interviews scheduled. So hopefully I'll put them up there one of these days.
So this is the first page. No, this is the second page of the original document that I received. And I kind of liked how they broke it up into the different types of events and types of, events that they had, both author and non-author. So I think there should be a marriage between these 2 documents that we just saw, the picture and this one. Based on the feedback that we gave you, you may want, this is a lot of information. You may easily could condense it into a grid or some icons to differentiate them, but you give a good visual description, some copy, even there is still a lot of copy, but you may want to reconsider the formatting, but I liked how you grouped it. Anyone else have comments?
I thought the visuals were really strong on this one, but I feel like in this scenario, bullet points are king. I think the new version you have with having things bulleted works much better.
Right.
Although I kind of like the less busy color scheme on this one, just with like a clean white background rather than like the other colors, but that may be just an opinion.
So that's a good point to remember if you're going to be using your document, solely digitally and sending it as an attachment versus, in person. So again, the formatting of this document is going to ebb and flow depending on its audience.
I also think putting, having some consistency, if not just necessarily bullet points, but having consistency in how you report on things. So sort of, like name of event, or, authors involved, titles involved, number of, average number of sales. There are ways that you can, for each one of those things, make it a little bit more uniform in the reporting of it, which would use less words overall and get your point across about how successful these events are for you.
Right. And then also, there is a map here that is used for their location, but I don't know if this map is helping the way you want. It's a big map. I do like that you have the paragraph up here of how far you are from Philly, a major city. So maybe the map doesn't need to take all the space, or maybe you don't need the map. If you need to put in sales, logistics.
And Catherine just asked in the chat, do you prefer the trifold or two-sided front and back, which I think is sort of applies to both of these. I'd actually not seen as many with the trifold until we got these two to review.
Yeah. Right.
I prefer the front and back because I can also make it longer. Like I know Greenlight, Greenlight's press release, Jessica's, is like 5 pages, but it's so well laid out. I highly recommend getting a copy of it. Jessica, email it to you. Yeah, because in my thought, I'm like, oh, when I need to, I didn't even think I could go to 3 or 4 pages. I can expand this. That was brilliant.
Yeah, we have like a whole section dedicated to like, here are our big venue partners, and a whole section dedicated to here's our school book fairs. And we can pull out those individual pages when we need to pitch someone on a specific kind of event, but we also do them all together. So I know ours is definitely on the long side, but it's also
I love it
to produce. Like it's just once it's printed and stapled, so we find it pretty versatile. But
it's like goals, hashtag goals for me to get to that level. Really.
We also only have 4 minutes left, just as a.
Yeah. So why don't I just pull
Molly.
up on that? We'll pull up. Let's see, a press kit that we have. Here's big blue marbles, and you can see how they laid it out. So it's 2 pages, okay, with their logo, where they are, that they're reporting. This is about their neighborhood, bolded text, so I can pull out exactly what I want to know specifically about that. Their events are bulleted here, and then also in a graph. So at a glance, I can see what size events they're comfortable doing, and also images that are great to show the space. Their marketing here, you saw an excerpt of that. Okay, so this is how they're going to get the author to the store. This is important. So as when we return to in-person events, this is important of how they're going to be able to do that, or map out a tour along with other stores in the area. So I think this is well done, and it's 2 pages. It's simple. It's simple graphics, so it looks like just a document that they put together with their logo and implemented the different formatting suggestions, and it works well. It's a very productive document. And let me see if I can.
There's an idea in the.
It was productive after you talked me through the rough draft, Maribeth.
Of course. This thing always evolves, believe me.
It really evolves.
Yes.
There's an idea in the chat about doing some sort of crowdsourcing of everyone's press kits together. So I think that's awesome, and I think people can do that on their own, but it might also be something that Eileen from NABA could help facilitate with the attendees of this course or with other folks who are interested. So
Right. And there also is, go ahead.
I was just going to say that's definitely part of the NABA certification course, is that you'll have a deep dive onto how to create this, why, what the various purposes are, and have feedback from your instructors one-on-one.
So here is Molly's for Child's Play press kit. Definitely a different layout, but still it's highlighted into the sections and the information that I'm looking for. Then contacts right here, where they are. I love this. Tired of the same old format? Our expert staff are creative and innovative, eager to create unique event experiences to increase sales. Love it. They have great pictures. And again, we saw excerpts of this about how they are different, their unique selling points.
And I will
Favorite
say we
success
go
stories.
back and forth on whether or not we put any numbers on our press kit, because I kind of like to talk to the publishers about them. So
Good.
I like when they ask the question.
So the important thing is that you can know that you can have options to this. It's not one way and the publisher is going to reject it. You have options, and you can justify them in your conversation when you're talking with them. If they have questions, you can be able to address them. Be prepared.
Oh, and Meryl just asked, what tools does the panel recommend for creating press kits? Canva.
Canva.
I'm deeply devoted to Canva, and you don't have to
Agreed.
do the pro version. The free version works perfectly fine.
It does. I will say my wife and I, though, split a pro Canva account, and we absolutely love it because I think you have to have it to resize documents. So sometimes I'll create a social media square for Instagram, and then I resize it to Facebook or Twitter or whatever else. For that alone, it's worth the money.
The
Right.
pro version
Canva.
is about $15 a month, and you can also upload all of your logos and save them there. So it's worth it.
I think that's it.
We are at time. So again, if you have questions about the press kit, or if you have questions about events in general, take advantage of the instructors that we have here. They have office hours every morning for this week from 9 to 10 Eastern time. So please sign up, take advantage of their expertise and their experience and their different perspectives. So I hope that you utilize your time. If you are thinking about the Professional Bookseller Certification, please contact Eileen. This is going to be an absolute amazing certification program. It'll give you and your staff the foundation that you're looking for. And
Well,
I think
everyone so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks. It's
we'll
so good to see all of you, even this way.
you're
And
awesome.
we'll see you again on Wednesday, Thursday, when we're talking
Yes.
about events management.
Yes,
Virtual
we are going to be
events.
talking about virtual events.
Yeah.
Hot topic at 3:30 Eastern time Wednesday. So
Thank
see you
you.
then.
And don't forget, we have events still continuing. Edelweiss 360 starts now. And we have cocktails tonight and our immigrant dinner, immigrant experience dinner, and sex points at 8 o'clock, which is going to be a riot. So we'll see you all at the next events.
Thank you, Eileen.
Thanks, Eileen.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.